Welcome to Relationship Realities. You've got Reyna here, and I have a very special guest. I have Jess with me, and this is going to be the follow-on to the episode from last week. And we are definitely bringing you a little funny, a little crazy, and a whole lot of reality. So everybody, like I said, I have Jess here, and we were just getting into talking about online dating and about how horrendous the situation has been. So you were saying last week that you typically don't keep your profile up for very long.
No, I don't. And, I think, like I said, I've yet to make it past 3 months.
Wow.
And then I've just I bow out. I'm like, I've had enough. And
are you using the paid services or the free ones? Or
I've tried them all.
Oh.
Not all. I've tried eHarmony. I tried Zoosk.
Okay.
This was a couple years ago. OkCupid. I did Match for a little. So I have dabbled,
in some different ones.
I've never done Tinder. I've never done Plenty of Fish. I know that's the only one that's free that I haven't tried. But San Diego's small, so it's I feel like everybody just
is on the same sites.
Throws a profile up.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you end up seeing a lot of the same people anyway. So for me, it's just the inability of just basic communication skills.
Right.
I'm not looking for a pen pal. I'm very much an energy person.
Right.
So for me personally, I have a very, very difficult time connecting with someone via instant messenger or text messaging.
Right.
And so that's probably just in general, one of the biggest pet peeves that I have with men these days in terms of how they start off, with dating or maybe pursuing a relationship or whatever, is the unwillingness to actually get on the phone and have a conversation.
Wow.
Drives me insane. I mean, I get it. I'm an adult, you're an adult, we're busy. I'm not saying we need to be on the phone for hours when you're in high school giggling and stuff. But, you can't. When you're texting with someone, you don't know what their voice sounds like.
Right.
You can't
feel that conversation and how to move the conversation
and they're
forward.
A stranger to you.
Right, exactly.
So I'm a very sarcastic person, my sense of humor. But that doesn't tend to really translate through text message unless you know me.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. As a stranger, there's the nonverbal communication, there's just so many things that are lacking. And so I find that these days, all men want to do is text. And then also, I don't have a problem with being assertive and saying, and letting it be known, hey, I'm interested in getting to know you.
Right.
But after that, you need to step up and ask me out on a date.
Right.
And it doesn't need to be we're going to some fancy thing, especially if you're a complete stranger and you meet
Let's
online.
Meet for coffee somewhere.
Something small, something just to see if there is any chemistry, have a conversation, not all of this pressure in situation.
Right.
But it's I just get so frustrated because it's we'll be messaging back and forth and there might be a little bit of banter or whatever. And then it's they never ask me out.
Wow.
Or or I get bored. Quite frankly, I'm just kind of I'm not looking for a pen pal.
Right.
So at some point, you're either going to step up to the plate and be and it's not that difficult. It's hey, what's your schedule like this week? When are you free? These are the dates that I'm free. Let's meet at a bar. Let's meet for coffee. It's not rocket science.
Do you think it has anything to do with demographics? For example, I completely relate to what you're saying. And I had not tried really dating in San Diego because I had been in a relationship before. But it seems to me hearing from other friends of mine and just seeing kind of the guys that were here in San Diego. And then when I went to the East Coast, very different.
Night and day.
Very different. When Roland was very not aggressive. He was just very to the point. Let's go out, let's meet up, and that was something that obviously was very different out there. And it was something I appreciated because like you said, I'm not looking for a pen pal. I was not on a dating site to look for pen pals. I was there to look for a date and see if
it would lead somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, that sometimes I think maybe men get, maybe they have some stories in their head that they're playing out, is that, you know, it's not that every guy I go out on a date with, I'm automatically thinking, picturing our life together. It's like, dude, I don't know you.
Exactly.
Like my whole thing is the whole thing about how you get from point, like strangers, to even the point where you're in a relationship. You have to, that's the whole purpose of dating.
You're getting to know the person, finding out about them. If I even like your face, like, do I even want to look at your face?
Like, can I have a conversation with you? Like a stimulating conversation. Are we compatible? You know, and especially like as we get older, we know ourselves better and know, you know, what's worked for us in the past and what, you know, you're not doing again. And so it's just, the only way that that's going to happen is if you spend time with each other.
Exactly.
So that's where I get frustrated, where it's like, it's like, okay, one, you know, a lot of guys don't want to get on the phone. And I get it. Like, sometimes people are just not phone people. Right. I totally get that.
I am not a phone person.
Yeah, especially like women too. But some men are just not phone people. Right. But I feel like in the very beginning, when you start off as strangers, there needs to be a little bit of
give and take.
Ebb and flow and give and take, and not just strictly text messaging.
Right.
Because like I said, so much gets lost in translation. And I do agree with you. I think demographics does play a role, because bringing it back to my time when I lived in New York, for me, that period of time was the most attention I had ever gotten from men in my entire life. Wow. And even to this day, when I travel back to New York or go anywhere in the East Coast, first of all, East Coast people in general are a lot more assertive. Yes. And a lot more aggressive.
Yeah. And here in San Diego, everybody's kind of go with the flow and just chill and lay back.
We'll see. Right. No. Yeah. We need to put a date on it. Like, I don't deal with that we'll see bullshit. It drives me nuts. The passivity. Right. The passiveness. Yeah. Really, really. And like the inability to, like, to me that translates as your inability to make a decision. Exactly. Which just is annoying to me.
I absolutely agree.
It's very annoying.
We're both Scorpios. I don't know if you guys can tell that or not, but we're both Scorpios.
Yeah, so it's like men on the East Coast are just a lot more aggressive and a lot more to the point. Like, hey, I'm attracted to you. I like you. Let's go out. Like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, yes, let's go. Like, let's see if we even like each other to go enough to go out on a second date. Like, let's just get to the point. You know what I mean? And then also too, there's also an element out here where we live in the land of
beautiful women, a
lot of beautiful women, but a certain type of beautiful women. Right. Right. So here in San Diego, I feel, and of course I'm generalizing here, but I feel like, you know, it's kind of the typical, like, California girl, you know, white girl, tan, you know, big boobs, you know, super fit, yoga pants.
Guys have their choice, I guess, and there's no shortage of them. Like, there's beautiful women everywhere, and it really seems like the women outnumber the men. So of course, as a man, like, if you're in the land of beautiful women, why on earth would you want to, you know, settle down, or why on earth would you want to, you know, be with one person, basically?
Well, it's the myth of unlimited options.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that is what online dating has created, is this
the
myth. Next. Yes. Like, oh, well, she's hot. Maybe I can get somebody hotter. Right. Or maybe I can find a man that makes more money. Like, people can get caught into these superficial, you know, ideas of what they think is going to make a good partner for them. And this whole, like, oh, like something next, something more. And this notion of unlimited access, which it's kind of a facade, you know. I guess it just depends on what you're really looking for. But yeah, but like, definitely when I lived in New York too, I found that because it is a very like ethnic city of all different types of backgrounds, I mean, very, very, a lot of exotic people where you don't necessarily know where they're from. Right.
Their culture norms are completely different.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I found, because I'm a curvy girl, I've always been curvy. I like my curves. But I found that men on the East Coast embraced my body type a lot more than the men here in San Diego.
I agree. I will definitely co-sign on that. That's very true.
So that's why it was kind of a unique experience for me, because growing up here, I never really got a lot of attention from men.
I agree.
And so being in my early 20s and, you know, was really excited about being in the city and this and that. It was just like, wow, like I dated a lot. Had met a lot of guys, had all different kinds of guys, had a lot of fun. And then, you know, it was kind of like coming from that, then back to San Diego where it's like a dating desert.
Womp, womp.
Yeah. I mean, not only, you know, but it kind of goes both ways, like in terms of, you know, the type of men that I typically tend to be attracted to. There's a lot more of them on the East Coast.
Right. I can co-sign on that too.
Yeah, there's a lot more of them on the East Coast. And I mean, I'm a very open person. I mean, I've even in times where I've had profiles up here, you know, I've gone out with people that didn't necessarily fall into
your type,
quote unquote, my type.
Right.
Just because it's like, oh, well, you know,
you never
what
know.
do I have to lose? Exactly. Like, what do I have to lose? Like, even if, you know, my attitude is like, even with dating, it's like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, if I still had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, at least I take it, oh, well, I had a great time with this person, but there's maybe that type of chemistry isn't there.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's, I mean, I found it difficult to even like get to the point where I get to the first date.
Right. Yep.
And so that's where for me, it's just my tolerance. I just get so frustrated with the lack of communication, and then also being inundated with really inappropriate, sexually explicit messages.
Right.
Guys have sent me unsolicited dick pics.
Oh my God.
Like literally, you know, or it's like we're having a somewhat normal conversation through the
and then all of a sudden, bam.
all of a sudden, like, do you give good head? It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
Like just out of the blue. And so for me, it's such a turnoff.
Oh yeah,
where
absolutely.
I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this. But then on the flip side, I'm like, okay, it seems like these days the only way that people meet is online.
Yeah.
At least here, I haven't really had the experience very often where men have approached me in a public space.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, okay, well, if I ever expect to find somebody, I actually have to get out of the house. And, you know.
So a guy is not going to come to my door and say, hey, let's date right now. That would actually be weird.
Exactly. That'd be kind of stalkerish. So, you know, it's like I'm stuck between this world where it's like I absolutely just like do not enjoy online dating.
Right.
And all the nonsense that comes with it. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how else am I going to meet somebody?
Right.
So.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, you had mentioned in last week's episode that you and I met through dance. And for me, that people have always asked me, and I'm sure you probably got the same questions, is, you know, well, why haven't you ever dated anybody in the dance scene? And for me, like, that's just a total no-no. Like it's kind of, I liken it to dating a family member, because you know all of their dirt, you know all about them, and it gets to the point where you don't see them as, I don't want to say as men, because that's not the right phrase, but you don't see them in that kind of relationship or romantic idea. Capacity. You know, they're friends, they're you know, family members. And not only that, but unfortunately there is a lot of interdating in the dance scene, so it's kind of gross.
Yeah, it is. It's a very small scene here, you know, in San Diego relative to like other areas like New York and, you know, other places. So yeah, I mean, honestly, there hasn't really been anybody that I've really been attracted to on that level within the dance community. Yeah. I mean, obviously you and I both have a lot of great male friends. Absolutely. Guys that I just adore. But they're like a brother to me, like a good friend. It's not somebody that I have any romantic, you know, interest in. Yeah. And I agree with you too. It's kind of like, you know, like when you get involved with someone at work
Exactly.
and then things don't work out.
Right.
And I've watched that dynamic.
Yes.
I've been on the sidelines with my popcorn from a distance. I'm like,
yes.
these girls and these guys.
Yeah, it's like you can't even really say like, oh, I'm going to go out and do this activity, because that, for me, dancing is my like way of release and like just my social thing. And so it's not like you can do that and then meet people, because that's really not
but
feasible,
the environment's different though, because like going to like within the dance scene, like going to all the socials or even at like Sevilla, like certain nights are known for like people in the dance community go. That vibe is completely different than going to like La Luce.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Which is like a Latin club.
Right.
You know,
right.
it plays the type of music that we like, but the vibe is completely different. So it's like within the dance world and like the different socials and stuff, not that people don't hook up or meet in that capacity, but it's
more of like a family gathering.
Correct. Yeah. It's like a real like safe space, because people actually are there to dance.
Yeah.
And so it's natural for everybody to switch partners and you dance with all different kinds of people. Whereas like a place like La Luce or even Onyx or some, you know, there's a couple other little places, you know, that definitely has more of a club vibe.
So have you tried going to a place like that, like with some girlfriends and like meeting people? And
I have been to La Luce a couple of times. I actually like that place because, and this is like a whole different topic, but just what's happening within the dance scene now. There's some changes that I don't like, just to put it bluntly. But La Luce I really like because it's, you know, they play a lot of traditional bachata and the type of music that I like to listen to. Now, the quality of dancers may not be quite what I'm
like
used
studio,
to. Yeah, like within some of the social scene, but it's just that natural like flavor and flow, like the cultural element is more there. So I do enjoy going there. I haven't been in a while, but it's been a couple months since I've gone. But again, it's like, you know, I might have a couple of like good dances here and there, but it never goes beyond that in terms of like a man like approaching me like, hey, can I have your number and stuff. I mean, my ex-boyfriend, like I met him randomly. He approached me at the mall.
Oh, wow.
But he's also from New York.
Oh.
He's not from California. So it's like the rare times that I do actually get approached in public, like kind of how things used to happen back in the day when we were kids or like in high school or even when I was in college. 99.9% of the time, they're always from the East Coast.
I see that. Yeah.
Always.
It's always that vibe. Like I will give like a huge shout out to like the New Yorkers and like the Jersey folks, because they are like no nonsense. And I can always tell like their swag is a whole other different type. I'm like, you're from New York? Yeah. How did you know? You can just tell.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of New Yorkers and East Coast people I find gravitate towards me and they automatically assume that I'm from there and that it was like reverse, that I grew up there and then I ended up out here. And it's like, no, it's the other way around, you know, because it's like, I feel like my natural personality is definitely like a blend of both coasts. Right. Because I can be very chill and very relaxed, and I'm okay with, you know,
hanging out
and not being like go all the time. But I do have that other side to me that is very focused and motivated and that little hustler mentality. Like I got to do what I got to do and I got to be on my grind. And, you know, I will tell you where to go and how to get there real quick. Right. You know, in terms of just my attitude and my vibe, it fit in really well when I moved to New York. So for me, like it wasn't a difficult transition at all. Whereas I had a friend who moved out there a year later, somebody that I went to college with. And she was actually from South Central Los Angeles. So she was from a big city. She moved to New York and she hated it.
Really? Wow.
She was such a California girl. I mean, she's first generation. Her family was from Nigeria. But she had a really, really hard time adjusting to New York, even being from... I mean, obviously, LA is a completely different vibe than New York. They're both big cities, but not the same
right,
on any
right.
level.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she just didn't like it. And I was just in my element.
Right.
For sure.
Is that something that you, I know obviously you have family here. Is that something that you would think about moving back to New York or trying to, I don't know, maybe move to like the DC area or, you know?
I'm definitely open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've dibbed and dabbed with the idea of moving. And that's, I mean, the beauty is that I have the ability to do so.
Right.
Because I'm not as grounded as some folks because I'm single and I don't have kids.
Right.
So I still have the ability to kind of move around. It's not out of the realm of possibility. The only thing is that somewhat holds me back is that there is a grind to living in New York.
There really is. It wears you down. It really does.
It does. And like I said, I'm not oblivious to the fact that I was there when I was in my early 20s, you know, and obviously like I visited and stuff, but it's like the little things like going to do laundry.
Right.
Or grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Like we're so used to here getting in our car and going to a parking space and having a basket and, you know, there, no, like
you got to carry everything.
You got to carry everything you buy and you could be carrying it for like 3 and 4 long blocks.
Yeah.
So, and then walking up 5 flights of stairs
because
if you
elevators are not really the business out there.
Exactly. So there's just like all these things that we take for granted are such a pain in the ass out there, you know, and then you think about doing it in the wintertime when it's hella cold, or you think about doing it in the summer when it's like blazing hot outside. Right. So it's an expensive, we live in an very expensive city, but there's just a lot of things. I mean, I don't know. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
If the right opportunity presents itself.
Correct. Yeah. Because I know, I mean, I have done some research with my current job about places that I could potentially transfer to. I've yet to find out if New York City is one of them.
I would imagine so. Just based off of, you know, people come from everywhere. People have worked everywhere. So it's like you have to, you know.
It's something that, you know, I definitely plan to like research, you know, in the future.
Well, everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed this week's podcast as well as last week's. And hopefully we will definitely have Jess on in the future because there is obviously a lot to talk about. Our friendship goes back several years, so we definitely there's a lot of material for us to cover and to go over.
Way more than can be covered in 1 or 2 podcast sessions.
So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed. And again, if you want to listen to any of the recent podcast episodes, you can find us on RR with rr.com, and all of our social media links are there. And until next week, guys, see you later.